Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Totalbiscuit. This is Torchlight 2. This is the beta of Torchlight 2. This is not a first impressions of Torchlight 2. Why would it not be? Because I did videos of this game, what, must have been over 6 months ago now? We had the chance to film it at Gamescom in great detail. So we were a little bit ahead of the curve on that. So what I decided to do was to get my character a little bit higher level than stuff you've probably seen previously, so that I could show you some more advanced combat, also give you some impressions of the difficulty, because that was one of the big complaints about the original, is that it was far too easy. It was very, very hard to die in that game, even at the highest difficulty level. I can happily say that things have changed now, and even on normal difficulty you are threatened, at least once you passed around level 8 or so. Now this is an Outlander. Currently level 16. The beta has about 5 hours of content in it. I'm told you'll probably get around level 21 or so in the beta once you've completed everything. Obviously, we're expecting more content to come later on. For those of you who don't know, Torchlight 2 is made by Runic Games. That consists of Max Schaefer, as well as a bunch of people that worked on games like Fate, Hellgate London. Yes, I know that's not all that encouraging. And, more importantly, Diablo 2. A lot of Blizzard North guys involved in this particular game. So, that's a fairly reasonable pedigree, as far as I'm concerned. Alright. So, let's get into it, shall we? I've got a bunch of junk in my inventory that I need to sell off. Those of you who have played the original will most likely know about this. The fact that you have a pet. This is a concept that came from Fate, one of the games that these guys developed previously, although not as this particular company. You can transfer anything from your inventory directly into your pet's inventory. Something like this. I don't want that. That's a unique mace. I should probably hang on to that, even though I can't use it, as you can see there. The only reason I can't use it, by the way, is that I don't have the stats for it. You can use any weapon in the game, regardless of what class you are, as far as I can tell. I've not seen any class that is restricted. Like, if I want to use a cannon, I can use a cannon. If I want to use a mace, I can use a mace, assuming I've got the stats for it. But in this case, I need Strength 45 and Focus 23, neither of which I have, or I need level 17. So what you can do is, if you've got the right stats, you can generally use a weapon before you would otherwise be able to, so it's going to be particularly awesome as a result. But you need very specific stats for it. So that's how they sort of limit the items to classes without so much hard limiting them. That's actually really, really good. So I think we're going to be wearing that. Swap that out and get rid of those. Selling stuff is nice and easy. As you can see here, I'm actually transferring it to the pet. I don't need to do that, but what that allows you to do is while you're out in the field, you can just send your pet back with what's in its inventory, and it will come back and actually have sold everything for you, which is incredibly handy. That's something that was from the original Torchlight. But this time around, they've added a few nice little extras in, which I will show you momentarily. I'd rather have the dexterity, I think. That is probably going to get kept. In fact, I think I'll just swap one of my rings out for that one. There we go. Looks like it's a lot better, and I think I'm correct in that one, so we can just get rid of that. That's a nice socketable item, which I'm going to be checking out momentarily. I can actually use this one too as well. Wonderful. Upgrades are plenty. And then just get rid of the rest of this. I'm putting it all in the pet's inventory for no really reasonable reason right now, but I can show it to you later. As soon as we leave the town area, I'll be able to sell things by using the pet. Now, here's the cool thing about the pet. They've actually given it a shopping list. You can send it back to town. Not only can it sell stuff, but it can come back with some basic potions. Anything that's currently available in the consumable shop, whether it be a health or a mana potion of different types, it can go back and buy. So I can say, right, go and get me these. And it will even tell you the gold price back there as well. You can also get town portal scrolls and identify scrolls as well. You generally don't need to town portal all that much in this game, which is something I found quite surprising. It's mostly due to the fact that either you can just use Waystone and get back that way via the waypoints, although those are few and far between. Or you can just send your pet back to sell your stuff. So you only really need to go back here when you fancy selling stuff or just hand quests in and things like that. You might be noticing there's pulsers going on here. That's because I have an exploding ferret. This is, in fact, the premier exploding ferret simulator. I'm not aware of any other games that have exploding ferrets. You can give your pet spells and they'll generally auto-cast them. So I've got Heal Self, really useful. That means I don't even have to keep an eye on his health or anything like that. And Rumble, every 10 seconds he essentially explodes. And what he does is he shatters these delicate objects in the vicinity. So we're talking about pots, generally speaking. So they're going to explode, gold's going to come out of them, I'm just going to run over and collect it. So it's a bit of a convenience thing. You see all my stats here. And there are a lot of them. I've currently been playing for 2 hours, 25 minutes. Takes me about 9 minutes to level up. I've used 103 potions. Yeah, there's a lot of stats. I've caught 17 fish. I haven't gambled yet. That's because I haven't had access to it. So when you start off in this area, you get to this area about 5 minutes in the game. It's really easy. This is your first town hub, unlike the original game where you start off in Torchlight, the town of Torchlight. And in the town of Torchlight, you have access to tons of stuff, all sorts of different vendors. When you start off here, you don't. You only have access to a general goods vendor and a blacksmith. This enchanter is a fellow that I actually rescued from a dungeon. And I got access to these, the Gem Smasher and the Gem Saver, as a result of doing quests. So you have to work your way through. Also, I am fairly sure that a lot of these guys are only here because I rescued them. So the town kind of grows along with your adventures. Enchantments, pretty interesting. Can't use it on this, I don't think. This is at maximum level for this particular enchanter because he's only an apprentice. I actually found a master enchanter in a dungeon, but he won't come back with me. So you'll often find these really powerful NPCs inside dungeons. You've got to go looking for them. But enchanters can add random stats, so I could add a random stat to this if I so desired. In fact, let's just do it to show you how it works. It's going to be a complete waste of money, but again, this is for demonstration purposes. There we go. And that's added, +1 experience gain and 7 damage reflection. And you can keep doing that depending on how leveled up your enchanter is. In this case, he's only an apprentice, so he can only add 1 enchantment. I believe you can go up to 4 extra ones. You want to see lots of enchantments? Have a look at my weapon here. This is my boomstick. It is a shotgun. Indeed. Every weapon in this game has a unique attribute of some description, which is in itself rather interesting. You can see the mace has a 90% interrupt chance. This shotgun damages all targets within an arc. And there's all sorts of different weapons that have different basic stats as a result of just being a weapon of that type. There are, however, weapons that don't have that. You see here, claw weapons don't do splash damage, but they've got 25% armor penetration. Interrupt chance on that maul there. All sorts of different weapons. There's actually a lot of weapons in this game, and you can use all of them if you've got the stats for it. If I want to run around with a staff, I can run around with a staff. It's probably not a very good idea, because I won't get skills that benefit it, but I can do it. I don't want to spend too much more time in the town, because I'd actually like to show you the combat, but before I do that, I would like, if possible, to remove the gem from this, because I want to get this one instead. Or possibly another one that I've got lying around somewhere. Alright. I would like to get rid of this enchantment to 4% attack speed. There we go. It is gone, and what I want to do is add this one, which is 6 health stolen on hit. There we go. Alternatively, of course, you can blow up the item and get the gem back, depending on which is more valuable to you. But you have to make a choice one way or the other. There's no way to get the gem back otherwise. Fishing is back in this game, by the way. Pretty much the same system, except this time you can actually dynamite a fishing hole. And that will bring all of the fish out of the fishing hole, but you generally won't get quite as many as you would by just manually fishing. If you want to know what fishing's all about, fish are actually consumables, which you can use on your pets. Wow, that is sick. I have never seen that one before. That's a massive bonus. But a lot of these fish will transform your pet into a different looking pet for a while, but they all have different abilities. You'll see this one actually has poison on it. This one makes it a spider, which shoots immobilizing webs. This one makes a war beast out of it. Mole beast here with a chance to stun, so on and so forth. The coolest one I actually found, which I haven't been able to find since, was a fish that turned it into a mimic. Yes, it's one of those chests with the big teeth and things like that. And that lasted for about 15 minutes, and I could absolutely slaughter people with that. Alright, I'm going to get out of here, so I can actually show you some combat. We're going to go to the Frosted Hills, which is the highest level zone I have access to at this stage. And I'm immediately going to send my pet back to sell all this crap, get it out of its inventory, and in the meantime I can show you a little bit of combat. The pet is quite important. He does do a lot of damage, and he's got a lot of utility as well, so sending him back is a little bit of a tough decision sometimes. Plus, I rather like my ferret. He's pretty adorable. There's a much larger choice of pets in this game. I believe there's, like, at the moment in the beta, there's about 8 or 9 different pets you can start with. And, of course, you can change them using the fish to transform into different things. There's also a lot more character customization, male and female versions of every class, of which there are 4. Alright. Okay, pet. That's actually P. There we go. You are going to go back and sell some of that stuff for me. And I'm a bit short on mana potions, actually, so you know what? Go and get me a few more. Alright, off you go. He'll be back in 2 minutes. And he's going to bring me all of the things that I want. Alright, so I've got a few active quests. This version of the game actually has a number of different mini-maps, which is quite interesting. You've got the one in the corner, which is the very traditional WoW MMO style, but you've also got middle map, left, right, no map whatsoever, which is kind of cool. You'll also notice here I've got something called a golden key. I don't believe this was in the previous game. I played some of Torchlight, but I honestly don't usually like games like this. And the funny thing is that this is one of the first ones that I've really gotten into. And the reason I've gotten into it, I think, is just because they've really nailed down the feeling of the combat. It feels amazing to actually attack things here. Usually, and indeed in this case as well, combat is really repetitive in games like this, but the fact of the matter is, stuff explodes. Like, your weapons feel like they've got a ton of power. In this case, this big shotgun that I've got hits a lot of different enemies in an arc, and it also has the ability to knock back, which is very useful. You'll see it's not doing a lot of damage here because there's a mechanic whereby any enemy with a shield is going to absorb a lot of damage or maybe take none whatsoever until you shatter its shield. You'll see a little pop-up that says, shattered. Some weapons are really good at it. I believe mine's actually not so bad. But look at that. It's just bang. You do so much damage and the enemies just come to pieces. Either they explode into gibs or they explode into gold. And that's really, really good. And you'll see that I'm actually taking quite a lot of damage, so I need to pot up. You can hit Z in this game to just get what you want in terms of your health. You just use a potion immediately. Alright. Let's head on inside here. Nope, nothing there. Nice to explore, actually. There's these really, really large areas, and you often find side quests dotted around the place and different dungeons to go into. I want to try and find a golden chest, Chuck, to show you how that works. Oh, excellent, my pet is back. Thank you very much. I'm sure he steals most of the gold, but you know what? That could be his little payment for service. Alright, where am I heading off to? This is a rather large area, so it's going to take me a while, but I need to find 4 different sigils, and I believe that they're around this area. There we go. As regards to abilities, I'll show you it. Since we're not going to be leveling up for a while, let's have a look at that. So, when you level up, you gain stats, which I believe would usually appear around this area. And you also gain skill points, which can be spent in one of 3 different trees. This is one of the areas where they really have not innovated. And actually, I feel like they're being left behind. It's a very traditional talent tree system, whereby you've got, as you can see, like 15 levels of each one, and these just upgrade it. So, I've got level 5 out of 15 of rapid fire. And I'm fairly limited by the current levels that I've got as to how powerful this thing is. Every rank it goes up, it costs more mana. It just gives you a bit more knockback, a bit more damage, a bit more minus armor, and so on and so forth. The upgrades, you don't really feel them, which is a bit of a problem. The 2 main competitors that Torchlight's currently got are, of course, Diablo 3, where they've kind of done away with a lot of this passive stuff. This stuff just kind of levels up, and they've got this runes... it's a rune system, I believe, where you can rune your abilities with 5 different kinds of runes, and that completely changes the way that the abilities actually work. And then you've got Path of Exile, which has got the gemming system alongside the big skill web. And the skill web, very much like the Final Fantasy X Sphere Grid, although hopefully better done than that. And it's designed to let you spend points to get a lot of passives. Some of those passives more important than others, and you go around the web and customize your character depending on which character class you originally had. So, combine that with the support gem system and things that Path of Exile's got, the Torchlight 2 leveling up system does feel a little archaic, I've got to say. Now, for traditionalists, this is not going to be a problem. I mean, I don't have a huge problem with it per se, but it is certainly not the strength of the game, not by any stretch of the imagination. Now, the first game only had 3 classes, and it kind of got around that by having all 3 of the talent trees be wildly different. I can't really speak to how different the trees actually are in this case. When I played a little bit of the engineer, it seemed like there was one tree that was dedicated entirely to deployables and engineering type stuff, another one that was dedicated to being a big 2-handed warrior, and another one that was dedicated to being a tank. With the Outlander, what we've got, and we'll have a look at these skills, is warfare is mostly about physical dodging and doing range damage. You see long range mastery, so I could upgrade that. It's actually useless for the shotgun, sadly, but there you go, and you've got a lot of different passives here. I can get shotgun mastery further down. I'm not really sure why that is. And why is that not just an upgrade that's on the same level? Why would I have to be 28? I've got a really good shotgun here. That's really curious, isn't it? I'm very, very confused as to why they would make these require a hell of a lot more levels. Level 42 to get a Kimbo? I mean, that means you can't even get it in the beta. You wouldn't be able to get to that level, I don't think. Unless, of course, you just continue to grind. I guess you could get to that point, but it is really weird, isn't it? So, it's very much about physical damage. Lore, your glaive throw is something you start with there. Passive that increases your charge bar. Your charge bar's down here. It depends on what kind of class you are as to what this charge bar will do. In this case, it's very much just a bunch of passives. With the engineer, it actually once you reach certain points of the charge bar, it means your next cast will be really powered up and have some additional effects. In this case, it makes you attack faster, dodge more. So when you're in a big fight and you're doing a lot of sustained damage, it does benefit you a hell of a lot. Now we can have a look at the last one and just see tangling shot, flaming glaives, things like that. A few more magical things one way or the other, and then sigils. This is for debuffing and I believe traps as well by the looks of it. As you can see, hexes, curses, all sorts of different things like that. So, I don't know if there's a huge difference here with the Outlander. There certainly is with the Engineer. That I can tell you for a fact. Every talent tree has massive differences. But I still think, as I said, that the skill system in Torchlight 2 is behind the curve. Everything else, though, feels great. Like, this is the thing. It's not a weak game by any stretch of the imagination. The combat feels better than Diablo 3, and it feels better than Path of Exile. That I can say from a comparative perspective, having played a few hours of each. From this early kind of basis, I would say that, yes, it feels great. Alright, cool, I can add fire. Ooh. If I had the money, I could add an additional fire. They haven't quite got their spelling right yet, as you can see there, but it's interesting that there's actually different kinds of enchanters. It's like, if I added an additional enchantment to General Grell's headpiece, what would it do?
You are fortunate.
Ooh. Sweet. There we go. Additional stuff. Not a huge amount of additional stuff. Like +1 fire resistance, so I'm not amazingly impressed. I want my money back from that stupid squirrel thing. What is in the goblin sack? Explosions of cash. Everything explodes into stuff. Cash explodes in small piles because it's just more satisfying that way, I guess. When you get into these big fights, stuff has a tendency of exploding in gibs. Stuff has a tendency of exploding in fire. My shotgun, as you can see, has a chance to do ice bursts and things like that. Meaty is how I would describe the combat in this game. Meatier than the original, which actually takes a lot of doing, because the original had some extremely impressive combat. This is probably the best action RPG combat I've ever experienced in this kind of genre. When it comes to Diablo-style games, they have totally nailed it. And I assume it's only going to get better as we get closer to launch. It's truly impressive. That was a terrible idea. No, that was a really terrible idea. But I want what's in the chest. There we go. Oh, there's a trap there as well. Even better. Oh, Lord. Anyway, I'm pretty sure there were some upgrades here. I want to know what these mysterious shoulders are. Let's right-click, find out what it is. Whoa, I need to be level 23. And actually, that is the first item I have ever seen that is restricted by class. I guess as you go higher level, the uniques can be restricted by class. Which is interesting. One thing I've also noticed is that a lot of the drops seem to be weapons, which is kind of weird, because once you get a really good weapon like this, for instance, a unique with a lot of enchantments and a good gem in it, it doesn't seem like you'd really want to replace it. But they're always giving you weapons. And yet, when I want to replace my armor, I never seem to get it. It could just be my own fault. Or it could just be the look of the draw one way or the other. But it does seem like you get more weapons than you kind of need. Alright, there we go. Needless to say, this version does have multiplayer. At the moment, the beta allows up to 6 people. Looks like we're going to have to be fixing this one way or the other. Yeah, it's currently 6 players that can play at the same time. I haven't had the chance to play the multiplayer yet. I may do another video with that so that we can take a look at the multiplayer mechanics. Bearing in mind, Diablo 3 has learned a hell of a lot of lessons from World of Warcraft when it comes to loot distribution and things like that. It's got group looting and very useful features as well as a really solid trading system. I'd be interested to see if Torchlight 2 has managed to keep up in that regard. Seems like there's an awful lot of competition coming in this space, which is good. Competition breeds innovation, breeds excellence. I'm always up for that kind of thing. I think I'm more interested in Torchlight 2 than I am in Diablo 3, simply because I just didn't follow the lore of Diablo 2. I feel that anyone that played Diablo 2 for a great length of time, which for me I really didn't. I played it at one LAN for about 3 days straight and then never played it again, and I can't remember the story, honestly, because, well, I was sleep deprived. What can I say? I think that anyone that really cared about the story is, of course, going to jump on Diablo 3. For me, as someone that didn't, it's more a case of, ooh, I want the game that's going to give me the coolest loot, and it's going to look the coolest, and it's going to have some interesting characters, and it's going to give me this really great combat experience. And when it comes to combat, Torchlight 2 is, at this stage, in my opinion, peerless. It really is. It feels so very good. Hell, I'm even enjoying playing a ranged class, which I never really used to. I mean, when I would play games like this, I would usually play the melee class because I just found it more interesting to wade in and do an awful lot of damage. This time I decided, hey, I'm going to play a class with a gun. And it feels great. It really, really does. And I was very surprised by that. The melee class feels good too. I've got an engineer. Not exactly a high-level engineer, but what I played with the engineer with a big two-handed weapon was absolutely wonderful. I'm intrigued on trying the Ember Mage as well. That's not something that I've really had too much experience with. But if it's anything like the rest of these classes, it's going to be a hell of a lot of explosions involved in it, and I certainly don't complain about that. I love the fact that guy just went off the edge there. Also tell you, what I find with Torchlight 2 versus Path of Exile and versus Diablo 3 is that everything's just faster. Like, the combat's faster, the movement is faster. It certainly feels a hell of a lot less clunky than Path of Exile. Path of Exile's got some problems in that you can't really use skills on the move, and you also seem to have this kind of long recovery time between skills, which I definitely don't like. Here, you definitely don't have a long recovery time. No, not at all. Wonderful violence going on here. Ah, there we go. We can deal with him. He's unique. He's a little mini-boss. Might drop some stuff. Oh, he's got the Goblin Detonator as well. Okay, I see why he's there. Okay, there we go. Wonderful. Some mysterious gloves. Loot, 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 loot. Oh, and don't be afraid of picking up stuff in this, by the way. Oh, not at all. You got a very limited inventory space in something like Path of Exile. In fact, stuff takes up different spaces. And I found very rapidly in Path of Exile that I had to be very careful about what I picked up. Here, nope. You've got a massive inventory, and your pet's got a massive inventory. Not a problem. Loot as much as you want. Send it back to be sold. No problem at all. I'm not going to sell that. Even though, well, how much does it sell for? I don't know from this stage, because I'm not actually near a vendor, but one way or the other, I think we just want rid of all of this stuff. It's so easy just to clean. What I would like is the ability to transfer anything that's, say, a white item directly over there. To have essentially a loot threshold system that would say, sell all junk. The game doesn't have that, which is unfortunate. Ooh, that's Outlander specific. Very, very cool. Ah, needs Vitality 31. That could be difficult, but that looks 20% increased magic find. That's sick. So good. Alright. Let's continue in. I want to see if we can find a big boss in here. I would definitely like to show you that. Ooh, I don't think we want that being there, do we? There we go. The bosses are generally very easy to find because usually you enter an area and it'll actually have the name of the boss. It's just like, this area has the boss in it. It's not going to hide it or anything like that. Dungeons definitely vary in length. There are, of course, multiple level one way or the other. Some of the earlier ones are just a single level and then the boss encounter, which is not so bad either. Just think that a lot of the stuff's destructible here as well. It's just like, hey, let's just break it one way or the other. The amount of skills I've got on my bar at this stage is quite limited, but that's really by choice. There's nothing necessarily stopping me from going in and just buying a bunch of different skills. You know, I might actually just do that right now. Tangling Shot might be useful. Glaive Sweep. That is handy. Yeah, you know what? Let's grab that skill. Alright, let's just get another skill in there. Alright, that's now skill 4. So, it's really up to you. Do you want to have one skill that you buff a hell of a lot out of and put a lot of effort into, and then, of course, combine with a bunch of passives? Or do you want to have a lot of active skills? I mean, that dodge is awesome, by the way. It has a blind and everything. And it does damage, too. I find, like, a lot of the skills have multiple facets to them. It's not just, like, do damage. It's like, do damage and then apply this effect and also dodge and do all this other great stuff. Graphically, this is going to be a love it or hate it thing, I feel. A lot of people were actually turned off by the very cartoony style of the original. I wasn't. I loved it. If you look at the Grimdark, you're probably not going to find that here. And Path of Exile is a very depressing-looking game, and Diablo, even though people have said, oh, it's too bright and shiny, is also a pretty damn depressive-looking game, especially compared to this. There's some pretty grim stuff in this, nonetheless. You can find some rather disgusting monsters, and indeed, there's been a huge variety of enemies in the first 17, 18 or so levels of this game, which I've been very impressed with. I've fought various different kinds of aggressive wildlife. I've fought ghost pirates, because why the hell not? I've fought giant skeletal abominations. I fought huge zombie things. I fought goblins. I fought bandits. And now I'm fighting King Pog, which is, I don't even know what the balls that thing is. But you know what? I am now fighting King Pog, and I'm happy with that. Alright, do I want to really get into close to that thing? Probably not. Let's start spamming some abilities one way or the other. The bosses are actually really fun to fight. They're dangerous, too. You can't just slaughter them like you did in the first game. You take a lot of damage. You've got to be very, very careful. You've got to use your evasion abilities. You know what? I might actually... I really should just put this somewhere where it's more accessible. Ooh, I can actually make my pet summon zombies. That would be great. What are we going to feed him? What are we going to feed him? Let's feed him... You're going to be a mole beast. There you go. Is he a mole beast? Where is he? I actually don't know where my pet is. He's run off somewhere. The pets are kind of bugging out a little bit in the beta, I noticed. Like, when they come back, they would spawn in a place that makes them inaccessible. So they just get stuck there. That's something they need to fix. Try and blind him. That should make things a little bit easier. There you go. You can see there's a mole beast right behind him that's beating on him. Has a chance of... I think it's had a chance of stun or something along those lines. There we go, you can blind him there. Now, you might also notice the damage numbers aren't appearing all the time. That's actually a choice. You can choose what level of damage feedback you get. In this case, it's on sparse, which means it's only going to give me a damage number every once in a while. Which is nice. But then again, some people might want to see every damage number, and they can do that too. It's nice that there's choice there. And every feeling that I get from this game is that it's by a company that has an inherent understanding of how to do this genre really, really well. That's very encouraging to see. It's not that surprising, admittedly. Indeed, why would it be surprising? They have a bunch of experience, and it shows. But one of the concerns that people have had with Diablo 3 is that the game is not made by the company that made Diablo 2. It's not made by Blizzard North. There are very few Blizzard North employees actually left at Blizzard one way or the other. That's concerning. It does mean that it can go in a new direction, and that actually might be a positive for the franchise, because we'll see some innovation there, and we are seeing some innovation. What I will say about Torchlight 2 is that while it's obviously an absolutely fantastic game, it's not innovating in a huge amount of areas. It is very much the traditional game, polished to a mirror shine. Like, it is just astonishingly well put together in every respect, as far as I can see, but it doesn't push the boat out in all that many ways. The things that look innovative are, more often than not, just derivative of some of their previous games, like Fate. Like, the whole pet system seems amazing to people that have never played Fate or the original Torchlight, but to those who have, well, it's not so big a deal, is it? But you don't have to innovate to make a great game, as Blizzard have proved time and again. They don't often innovate as much as you might think. Warcraft 3 certainly had some innovation in it, but if you look at StarCraft 2, they really didn't innovate too much there. World of Warcraft lacks innovation because it just tends to take the best aspects out of a lot of different MMOs. But that doesn't mean the game's bad. Sure, it may have gone down a path that I disagree with now, but it doesn't mean the game is bad. I actually completely forgot to upgrade that. Shut up, Mole Beast! Lord, what's wrong with you? Alright. I really need to start upping my vitality, I think, to wear those... What were those really nice shoulders or whatever they were called? Yeah, that's going to take a while to get to. Ah, the Exile Bracers, yes. Now, I could just leave now through that portal, but I would like to blow up these other detonators because there might be some mini-bosses, and at the end of the day, the dungeons are very, very large. They take quite a lot to explore. So I want to see what's behind the rest of the detonators. There might be a gold chest. I have a golden key, which I got from a so-called bitter sprite, which are these nasty little bastards that you find very rarely every now and again. And you can use golden keys to open golden chests. They tend to contain very high-level loot. If you actually find one on the map and can't open it, it actually marks it on the map as well, which is really, really handy. Usually you don't find them in dungeons from what I've seen up to this point, but I may be mistaken. Oh, can I loot all of that? Yes, there we go. Thank you. Get you guys out of the way. Well, nothing particularly interesting in here other than a bunch of goblins. I feel that they have fixed the vast majority of problems with the original game. Obviously, adding in things like multiplayer is huge. Dealing with the difficulty problems. I'm playing on normal now. If I was playing normal on Torchlight, I would be destroying it completely. But you are threatened. You are having to use potions. You're having to be a little bit careful. You can't just sit there and take damage. You do have to do something to mitigate it one way or the other. You didn't have to do that in the original game. No, not at all. You could do whatever the hell you pleased. It just didn't really matter. You can crank the difficulty up to maximum on that, and it's still kind of a cakewalk. Not so much here. There's 4 difficulty levels. This is just normal, and there are 2 which are much, much harder than this. Good, they sorted that out. The sameness of the original game, for instance, the fact that there weren't a huge amount of variety in different areas, they've definitely dealt with that, because they've got a lot more overworld stuff. It's not all dungeons, and the dungeons they do have a hell of a lot of variety to them. It's not just mines and more mines. Like, the Ghost Pirate dungeon was awesome. It's just a little side quest dungeon. You go in there, and it's essentially a pirate's grotto. It's even got a ghost pirate ship in there as well. It was just kick-ass. It really, really was. And it keeps you interested. It keeps you guessing. There are, of course, weather effects and things like that in the game. You often come across some interesting things going on as well. One of the criticisms I would have of the original Torchlight is that because you're just going to dungeons, the world didn't really feel alive. Here it's got a hell of a lot more of that, simply because you'll come across something in the overworld and it looks like they're getting along with something without you being there and you're interrupting. I found some rituals, for instance. There was some kind of necromantic rituals going on with guys with tentacles for heads, and they ended up causing a villager to turn into some giant ghostly monstrosity that then had to fight. And that wasn't even a quest or anything, it was just there. And that was really cool to see. As you can see, completely different monster types out here. All sorts of different kinds. There we go. I'll deal with you, thank you very much. Is that a monster or an attack? I don't even know. You can see on the map that this overworld area is just massive. It's very, very nice. Well, I may show you some more of Torchlight at some point. Obviously, when they add more to the beta, if they add more to the beta, then I'm definitely interested in seeing what the higher-level content ends up being and what kind of different functionality they've now managed to put into the game. And, of course, checking out how the multiplayer works. Sounds like a pretty good idea. If you want to see more Torchlight 2, by all means, go and check out the Yogscast. They're doing a playthrough of the beta. So if you're just looking for completely unedited footage from start to finish, that's a good place to go. But this is really intriguing to me, it is. I'm enjoying the hell out of it, which is not what I expected out of a game of this type. In fact, this might be the game that gets me into it. Funnily enough, I don't know if this was what they intended to do, but this game's made me more interested in Diablo 3 because I'm just liking the style of how they're doing things, and I wonder if Diablo 3's done it as well. I mean, from what I saw of the beta, it didn't, but that was a long time ago, and no doubt they've polished it up just a little bit more. This could actually make me a fan of hack-and-slash ARPGs. It's really, really good. Seriously good. Oozes polish even in the beta stage. And this is going to be a $20 game. $20 for a game of this caliber. Has full mod support, DRM free, you can play it on LAN, you can play it offline if you so desire. The beta is actually online only, but that's only because they need to verify who's playing it and who isn't, and also track experiences. But the full game will be playable offline. There is no real money auction house or anything like that either. Oh my god, even this dungeon's different. What the hell is this? So cool. It really is. I'm just grinning when I play this game. It's got such a fantastic feel to it. So check it out, ladies and gentlemen. It's available for pre-order over on Steam. You can actually get, I believe, I'm not sure if it gives you access to the beta now. I think it gives you access maybe later down the line. Please go and check out on Steam to find out whether or not that's true. It does give you a free copy of the original as well, which has got a lot of cool different mods, by the way. So I would certainly recommend that you check that out. Oh! Well, that's nice. You know what I was saying about the squid people? Yeah, there's some Cthulhu crap going on in this game. Good lord. Yeah, these are not pleasant folks. Not at all. You know what? I think it's time to break out the superfish. Where's the superfish? Disappeared. I'm glad that he's being very, very patient and just allowing me to... There you go, have some superfish. And you are also a jackal beast. There you go. Get him! Get him, boy! Sick him! Excellent. Very nice. Ah, these effects feel so good! I love rapid fire. It feels brilliant when you actually use that ability. This game's great. It's just flat out great. So please do pay attention to it. We don't know when it's coming out. If they've got any sense, they'll wait for people to get sick of Diablo before they release this thing. But it's an exciting time for anyone that actually likes this kind of game. Because we're getting a lot of them. Grim Dawn also coming out. Path of Exile, free-to-play game. Bit of a different business model. More of a grimdark sort of experience in comparison to this, which is nice and bright most of the time. So awesome. Torchlight 2, ladies and gentlemen. My name's been Totalbiscuit. I'll see you next time.